Welcome to the Black Sparrow Media Internet Broadcast Network.
You are listening to Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a podcast about Linux, open source, and amateur radio for everyone. Now here are your hosts, Russ, K5TUX, Cheryl, W5MOO, and Bill, NE4RD.
Well, hello everybody and welcome. You have tuned in to episode number 486 of Linux in the Ham Shack, the most terrific amateur radio podcast on the internet. Episode 486 is our short topics episode. So thank you for coming in and listening to that. And we really appreciate you all being here. So let's go ahead and introduce ourselves and then we'll talk about some short topics. I'm Russ, K5TUX.
I'm Cheryl, W5MOO.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD.
All right, so I guess we don't have a lead topic. I have a lead topic for me personally. So, and then now the dogs, of course, decide they want to start barking. So
that's okay. We can't hear them.
Oh no, that's good. Well, if they run down the hallway and into my office, that might be a different story. But yeah, thanks to Tony K4XSS, who was looking at the right place at the right time. He found me a duplexer. So I'm all excited now. And
got a set of cans.
Yes. So looking forward to getting those in and getting things rolling and getting my repeater on the air, getting the antenna up in the air. I mean, it's on the air now. It's just not that anyone can use it except me. So I was running it on 70 centimeters. I switched it over to my 2 meter allocation today. And, so as soon as the cans come in and I get the thing wired up and get the push up tower up in the air, then we'll be good to go. So that's cool. All right. So let's get into our real topics. And we always start with amateur radio. So let's talk a little bit more about amateur radio. And since we're all like huge contesters around here, we'll let Bill tell you all about sweepstakes season.
That's right. It's sweepstakes seasons. And we're not talking about the Publishers Clearinghouse. This is the ARRL November sweepstakes. This is what I like to refer to as the kickoff to contest season. And I think, must be more than one person agrees with me because I saw it as the contest season kickoff for the QST magazine for this month too. So yeah, this is the good time. This is when all the big contests happen. I think we just had a CQ contest this weekend, single sideband. So that was going on, making all the single sideband noise. People with microphones actually working the bands, which sounded really good this weekend. But yeah, we have the sweepstakes is coming up here in just a weekend for the first full weekend is the CW1, November 5th through the 7th. I know we don't like doing dated stuff on here, but I cheated anyway. We're going to do it. And of course, this runs 160 through 10, no work, of course. And the goal is to get a clean sweep and have fun. That's 84 sections between the U.S. and Canada. And it's always a good, fun contest. And if you don't do CW this first full weekend, there's a phone contest, the third full weekend in November 19th through the 21st. And again, this is a good, fun U.S. contest, good time to test out all the antennas and everything else and make sure, it works outside of, the FT8 band. So you're going to be having some fun here starting up, real soon.
All right. Sounds good. I've been doing a lot of FT8. The higher bands, the higher HF stuff, like 15, 12, and 10 have been sort of on fire lately. So it's kind of nice.
Yes, they have been.
Working, well, 6, I guess, is sort of done for now because I haven't seen anything on 6. But 15, 12, and 10, definitely awesome at the moment. All right, so moving on, let's have Cheryl read the next one, assuming she's anywhere near the microphone.
I am. So,
okay.
Sorry, my windows were buried. So
no problem.
So our next story is December is Youth on the Air Month. The entire month of December, several youngsters will become active with Yoda as a suffix in the call sign. The idea for this is to show the amateur radio hobby to youth and to encourage youngsters to be active on the ham radio waves. Give a demonstration in a school or local club, gather together with your friends, grab a pizza and make some QSOs, or enjoy a great pile-up. Let us all show this great hobby to the world. Feel free to make a QSO with the youngsters. They're happy to get some attention and exchange information. Licensed and unlicensed youth will be making QSOs. Be aware this could be their first radio contact ever and give them the chance to experience a possible new hobby. And this came from Ham Yota.
Yota, yeah.
Yota.
Hey, Yota.
Y-O-T-A, Yota.
May the ham fall. Well, no, I'm totally screwing that up, so I'm not even going to do that. Anyway.
May the bands be with you.
Yeah, that's right. Bands be with you, yes. Or something. Okay. Yeah, my Yoda sucks. I understand.
CQ or not CQ? There is no CQ.
Shakes Yoda.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to ham radio gamification, or is that gamification? Gamification. Okay. Should have known that, but setting operating goals has been useful for me. Oh boy, it's a blog entry. So this comes from, so I'm going to be reading this as if I'm Bob K0NR, just for,
So you got
it's
the
not
voice
me.
right.
It's not me talking. K0NR. Setting operating goals has been useful for me in ham radio. They often provide a reason or incentive for me to get on the air and make some contacts. I follow the typical award sequence of worked all states, worked all continents, DX Century Club, and so forth. Over time, I've come to realize that some amateur radio activities include the elements of gamification. Gamification is a hot topic in user interface design, online learning, and other computer-based systems. The basic idea is to incorporate gaming techniques into activities to increase user engagement. Gamification can be used to make ham radio activity more fun and to more fully engage the participants, e.g. SOTA, POTA, IOTA, LOTA, YOTA, and all other OTAs. Traditional radio contesting is clearly a competition and has the elements of keeping score, having leaderboards after the contest, and having teammates. Yeah, whatever.
I thought it was just a time appropriate topic to bring in, just because we just talked about Logbook of the World and getting all that wallpaper and stuff like that. So I thought this was just a fun little blog post by Bob over there. And yeah, it's very true. I mean, that's the whole purpose of these summits on the air, parks on the air, and whatnot. Is to collect things. Like you're stacking a deck of cards or collecting stamps or something like that. It's definitely a fun way to get involved in something and gives you something to kind of look forward to, kind of earn little badges and whatnot.
But you thought you weren't into any of that stuff.
Well, I'm not really, but other people are, so I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah. Lots of people are. I've never succumbed to the bug to be a contester. I like seeing my grid tracker map fill up, but I'm not. Yeah. I'm not like, I've got to do the CQ Worldwide or whatever.
Yeah. I do have quite a few certificates now. I was letting the theater borrow one of my little desks for a show, and that's where I stored all my plaques and stuff like that. And I just realized I got a lot of junk. I probably should have a wall where I put all this stuff.
Well, we all collect things. Believe me, my office is so full of crap right now that could easily find its way to the dumpster. But anyway. All right, so let's move on from amateur radio topics to some open source topics. And we're going to talk about, Bill's going to talk about GUAC.
Okay. GUAC, yeah, it's not just for tacos. Google unveiled a new open source security project on Thursday. So this was a couple Thursdays ago now, centered around software supply chain management. Given the acronym GUAC, which stands for Graph for Understanding Artifact Composition, the project is focused on creating sets of data about software's build, security, and dependency. Quote, GUAC addresses a need created by the burgeoning efforts across the ecosystem to generate software, build, security, and dependency metadata. They wrote in a blog post, quote, GUAC is meant to democratize the availability of the security information by making it freely accessible and useful for every organization, not just those with enterprise-scale security and IT funding, end quote. Google says the tool will allow anyone to figure out the most used critical components in their software supply chain ecosystem and security weak points and any risky dependencies. As the project evolves, Marusik, Loom, and Hepworth said that the next part of the work will center around the scaling of the project and adding new kinds of documents that can be submitted and ingested by the system. And this came from The Record.
Interesting. Security open source project. Software supply chain management. Well, that sounds
it's kind of like Dependabot and stuff like that.
Sounds relevant to nobody.
Yeah. Except for open source developers.
Well, yeah, we have very, very few people who listen to our podcast, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're not truly around open source development, but like, I'm a developer and you develop. So,
and we definitely know of other developers who listen to the show. So,
absolutely. All
right. Very good. And next we have 22-year-old vulnerability reported in widely used SQLite database library. Boy, SQLite. It's coming back and back and back and back. A high-severity vulnerability has been disclosed in the SQLite database library, which was introduced as part of a code change dating all the way back to October 2000 and could enable attackers to crash or control programs. Tracked as CVE 2022-35737, a CVSS score of 7.5, the 22-year-old issue affects SQLite versions 1.0.12 through 3.39.1. That's a lot of versions.
Yeah.
And has been addressed in version 3.39.2. If anybody's using like 1.0.12, you may have some other problems.
Maybe on your Debian 7 system or something.
Well, no, even that's probably not that old.
Yeah, it's probably at least a 2 series.
The patch was released on July 21st, 2022. The vulnerability discovered by Trail of Bits concerns an integer overflow bug that occurs when extremely large string inputs are passed as parameters to the SQLite implementations of the printf functions, which in turn make use of another function to handle the string formatting, SQLite 3 _string _ v_append_f, for those really hardcore developers who have been working with SQLite. However, a successful weaponization of the flaw banks on the prerequisite that the string contains the %Q, %q, or %w format substitution types, potentially leading to a program crash when user-controlled data is written beyond the bounds of a stack-allocated buffer.
Yeah.
Yeah. All you developer types, you all understood all that. So anyway, patches have been released as of July 21st, so hopefully everybody's getting current. I don't know how far back the patches go. Like, are they patching 1.0.12? Probably not.
Yeah, I'd have to back patch it, I guess.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, SQLite in the news yet again. And this sounds like one of those really esoteric, hard to exploit bugs. But it's there. I'm glad they found it. Glad they patched it. All that yada, yada, yada. Make sure your systems are up to date and let's move on.
Yeah. And I included the versions that are currently listed inside a Jammy Jellyfish, which of course is the LTS for Ubuntu, and that is 3.37.2-2, which is exploitable technically, unless that's been backpatched. I didn't check the patch record on it. And the newest version, the 22.10, the Kinetic Kudu, is at 3.39.3-1, which of course would be patched.
Bill in the chat has another definition of GUAC.
GUAC. Google utilities always collapse. Yeah. No, they're always canceled. Oh,
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Very nice. All right. So moving on, let's talk about some more vulnerabilities. Wow. This is all about security issues. Lock down your systems, take them off the internet, plug them into the ground, or whatever it is, so you don't get hacked. And this one's on OpenSSL, which is something everybody uses. So what do we got, Bill?
Oh, okay. You don't want Cheryl to read this one?
Cheryl is not currently available.
Oh, okay. No worries. Yeah, so new OpenSSL vulnerability is coming. Get ready to patch. On Tuesday, the 1st of November, between 1 and 5 p.m. UTC, a new version of the widely adopted OpenSSL 3.x series will be released for general consumption. The OpenSSL project announced this in their mailing list and through Twitter, also revealing the existence of a new critical security vulnerability this patch fixes. In a twist to the usual formula, the project is giving the world a week's advance notice of the impending patching. And we all should indeed take note of it and be prepared. OpenSSL is widely considered to be part of the critical infrastructure of the internet, among other things, generating the certificates that will allow websites to run over HTTPS. At the time of writing, it also appears that only OpenSSL versions between 3.0 and 3.0.6 are affected. This critical security vulnerability is fixed in the upcoming 3.0.7. OpenSSL 3 is widely adopted, but currently surveys indicate that it's still far outweighed by the 1.x distribution that is mostly out of LTS today and completely after September 2023. And this came from Sonatype.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I'm using OpenSSL 3. I kind of feel like Debian and Ubuntu are all still using 1.
Could be. I didn't check the versions on that one.
Some like super highly locally patched versions of OpenSSL 1.
Probably,
but yeah. All right, I guess it's time to move on at some point, but I just do what's in the repo, man.
yeah, I just install OpenSSL. That's how it works, right?
Exactly. All right. So moving on, we're heading into Linux in the Ham Shack. And Bill's going to tell us about the latest version of Ubuntu, because the one machine that I was going to put the latest version of Ubuntu on, I realized I switched over to Pop! OS. So that made it kind of problematic. My Shack PC does have Jammy Jellyfish on it. I just don't feel really ready to move to 2210 there yet. But maybe if I feel like breaking everything, we'll see. But what's your experience with the latest revision?
Yeah, so just to go real quick, the OpenSSL version on Jammy is 3.0.2-0, Ubuntu 1.6. So I'm assuming it's a security patched version of 1.6 based upon that weird version number that they have there. But yeah, I did give a 2210 Kinetic Kudu spin up. It was just released in multiple flavors over the past couple weeks, I guess. And I downloaded the Ubuntu Studio version of this, the 2210, and it, of course, came with KDE Plasma and all the goodies that comes with Ubuntu Studio, which is kind of their multimedia flavor of Ubuntu. And I was able to make the ISO, bring it up in a virtual machine. So I didn't put this on real hardware, so it's on virtual hardware, and easily installed again all the Ham Radio Pure Blend stuff. That all seemed to come in really fine. And of course, it installed MySQL for CQR log. So I just installed MariaDB and was able to create an empty log file without any problems with CQR logs. So you'd still have to kind of go around that little circle of installing, then coming back and installing the MariaDB-server afterwards. And so I gave it an LHS readiness score of 4.5. It definitely looks pretty complete. Some of the notable versions of stuff on there, I did see WSJTX had one of the RC builds of 2.6.0 on there, which I thought was odd, but okay, whatever. Put an RC build out in this short-term support release. So, and like all the intermediate releases, this is only supported for 9 months. So it's supported through July 2023. And obviously by then you'd have a couple more releases. I think we got 23.04 will be out, and then 23.10, of course, following that. So, check it out. It's 22.10. If you like to check out the new shiny, they look pretty good. I don't know if I'll be doing anything with my system here, but you never know. It's always fun to distro hop. So,
well, for some people, it's fun to distro hop. So, some people like a little more stability in their lives, I guess.
Well, what's the fun in that?
Well, I guess it depends on whether you're doing mission critical things or if you're just screwing around with client boxes. But
yeah. Yeah, well, this is Ham Radio, right? It's my Ham Shack computer. I don't mind breaking it every few months for fun.
No, the Shack computer I don't really worry about too much. It's just that I have to get, assuming that like the due release upgrade goes, to plan, then there's no issue at all. But I sort of have to be prepared to recover all my log data and, application config options and so on.
Your log data is on another computer, right?
Yes. Well, it's in several places, actually. I mean, it's pretty easily recreatable, but...
Yeah, because you're using CloudLog for your main main log.
Right, but Cloud Log is actually running on the Shack PC.
Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't know that.
The database is somewhere else, but the actual web service is on the Shack PC. So so it can be kind of time consuming to mess with that if something goes awry. But I don't know. Maybe I'll suck up and do it one of these days. And as far as release candidates, isn't like everything that's not in Ubuntu LTS a release candidate? So like 2304 is like 2404 release candidate, 2.
Well, they're all pre-releases of the next LTS.
Of the next LTS, exactly. That's my point entirely. So
yeah,
sure,
they can throw all kinds of 2404 pre-releases.
Right. You can throw all kinds of random crap into the non-LTSs. They don't care. So, all right. I'm not going to, well, I guess we'll roll this into announcements and feedback. We don't have any announcements or feedback, but I'm going to put out a call to our listeners. And if anybody out there really knows Kerberos, I need some help. I want to talk about Kerberos in the future. It's something I haven't really dealt with until now, and now I need to. And my crash course is going reasonably well, but I'm finding myself at a roadblock. So if anybody wants to get with me and talk to me about Kerberos, I would really appreciate it. And with that, I'll leave a discussion about Kerberos until I don't hate it anymore.
Nice.
So, all right. With that being said, I don't have any more announcements and feedbacks. Do you have anything?
I have nothing.
All right. Well, I think Cheryl has approached her microphone. Maybe. Possibly.
Sorry, had to get my computer to wake up.
Well, you're here at more or less the appropriate time, so
right. So
we'll go ahead and let everybody know that we've come down to the end of our topics for the evening. So we hope you found some of this informative and at least mildly amusing in any case. And we'll go ahead and hit our new subscribers, supporters, and live participants, and we'll bring Cheryl in for that.
Okay, so this week we don't have any new subscribers or Patreons. For Facebook, we had Aaron Phillips. No one on Twitter. For YouTube, we had JM and Paul Bunt. No new mailing list folks. No new Discord folks. And in the live chat, we had Bill, N3AJ, Tony, K4XSS, and Don, KB2YSI.
All right, very good. That brings us down to the end of our Short Topics episode. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, whether it was live, like the folks we just mentioned, or whether you downloaded after the fact. And if you stick with the show, then the next episode that's released will be our Weekender. It's the 98th edition of the Weekender, so we hope you'll tune in for that one, where we'll have a random topic to discuss, a bunch of fun, some hedonistic things that we'll bring up, and it will all be a good time. But in the meantime, this has been episode number 486 of Linux in the Ham Shack. I'm Russ, K5TUX.
I'm Cheryl, W5MOO.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD73.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a community-sponsored podcast. Our website is located at lhspodcast.info. You can support the podcast by visiting the LHS Patreon page at patreon.com/LHS Podcast, or by using the contribute list on the homepage. We have a presence on Discord, Facebook, IRC, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also drop us an email at info@lhspodcast.info, or leave us a voicemail at 1-909-LHS-SHOW. That's 1-909-547-7469. Visit the online LHS merchandise store at shop.lhspodcast.info for fun and fashionable show-themed merchandise. Until next time, remember to always heed your hedonism.